there was an island across the way that my father talked about a lot because they knew the people who owned that. And we met them. They were both lawyers, I think, or he was a businessman and she was a lawyer in Toronto. And they were enjoying that island and they began to be interested in ours because they wanted to expand. Theirs was a little island. We had a lot of...
Oh, Big Bob's? Was it
Yeah,
Big
Big
Bob's?
Bob's, right.
It was really little, it was a really little island.
You couldn't walk more than 3 steps outside the house and then you had to deal with other things. And there was no place protected, so and up there, the winters were hard on anybody who tried to build something where they could keep the boat.
Mm-hmm.
The winters just played havoc with all of it. So they were interested, and then there was somebody in his office that was also interested, and pretty soon they were bidding, and there was no way we could turn that down. It was not the way it had been, and we were not about to dress it up and try to make something out of it that wasn't my idea of a place to go where you got away from it all.
Yeah.
People wanted to have their washing machines and their dishwashers and their all this stuff, all the things you have at home. Why do you go up there?
Yeah.
You know, it didn't make any sense. So we did, but it was very hard to leave it.
That's why you see some of the rocks around, like the one Grandma and Grandpa have right there, and the ones in our front and back garden. They brought these beautiful rocks back, so there'd be a piece of Canada with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to get that one someday too, but
Well, no hurry, please don't. No hurry.
yeah, I love having it.
No.
But I think they're effectively shown in your property.
Thank
oh
you.
yes, they're really nice with the strawberries right next to one, and
Yeah, I remember.
flowers and things.
Do we have time for another question?
Sure, we have time. Ask them though, they're the ones
Yeah,
answering.
I know. I'm just saying what time.
It's 5:10.
Okay, so I'm kind of curious. This is not me tooting my own horn. I'm curious about. So we did parenting. How does it transition you from being in retirement and being grandparents in this other stage of your life? I'm curious to know more about that.
Grandparenting?
How is? Yeah.
Oh, that gives me some thought.
How do you phrase that?
How have we made this transition to being grandparents from parents? It's
I think it is so natural. It works so easily. It's to me, it's amazing the transition from unmarried to married, or without family and with family,
Yeah.
is a huge transition. The one toward grandparenting works pretty easily. The fun of watching your children and grandchildren grow up, sharing whatever you can of value with them, and the natural aging process is just a superior design of the human body. Because it slows you down, almost makes you more contemplative. At least it encourages you to be more contemplative because you're not going to be as active. It's refreshing, it's invigorating to see the grandchildren coming along. That's really an amazing process to go from. Well, I have a recollection that's never going to vanish from my mind. The first thing I think about when I think of you, Abby, is how you used to chase around after Margot, and on your hip you were holding Rebecca. And you'd carry Rebecca on your left hip, then you'd come around the house. Margot left it up to you to take care of it, from her standpoint, it was every man for himself, or every woman for herself. from your standpoint, it was, well, if we're in this thing, well, let's get Rebecca, she's entitled to be part of it too. And that's a very vivid mental picture I get of that every time. It was on the north side, you'd round the north side of your house and go cutting across the front yard.
I think it's been harder for me. Partly because it was really Craig's death that brought us around to thinking, we don't need this house anymore. We bought it just before Craig was born, and I figured we'd visit you. There's no point in making you pack up all the kids and everything to come to our house. We could come to you and we could see that way. And that was a whole big process of trying to cope with his death and the shock of it, the sadness of it, and the range of emotions that goes with it, because you go through anger and resentment and scolding, and you can hear voices and you can hear all. It's just an amazing thing. Anyway, the first thing was the downsizing and the walk, and I came out of that with a lot of pain that had to be dealt with.
We on the way over here, we talked about that. So can you talk to Abby a little bit about that walk? Because they walked in the car. We drove from downtown to the edge,
Mm-hmm.
and their dad talked a little bit about going on that walk and how amazing it was that you were doing this. And
All of us did it. My first reaction was, I'm not going to deal with this. When we heard that Craig had done himself in, I just thought, I can't deal with this. And my subconscious is going to have to work on it for a while without my worrying about it. And I put it out of my mind with some regularity whenever it would pop up into my mind. And then along about late February, March, something like that, WFMT has a woman on it, Lisa Flynn, who announces, and her husband had committed suicide years before. And she mentioned that there was this organization called Out of the Darkness, and they were going to work to prevent suicide. I don't think you can really prevent it, but you can do a better job of dealing with depression so that people don't carry it out so much. And anyway, I listened to that and I thought, oh, now that's what I can do. That's how I can meet this thing. So I went to the meetings and I found out about how you were to train, and I hadn't done any training. I hadn't done any physical stuff except what you do as a housewife. So I set out walking every day. I'd take my phone and I'd call Gramps and he'd meet me for breakfast, and then I'd walk back or we'd come back together. So I went up to Botanic Garden, I went way out west into Northfield. At one point I walked all the way down to our unit
Evanston.
in Evanston, which was a good 6-7 miles from Winnetka. And all of that was to get ready for this walk. And then one of the things we were supposed to do was put together a team. So I didn't approach Amy because I didn't think she should try to come up and try to do this. But I did ask Liz and Lynn, because I thought maybe she might and feel that that was helpful. And she could get back and forth fairly easily because of her parent family. It's a big family and they're all around, scattered around North Shore. And we started out at Soldier Field. We gathered about, 5 or 6 o'clock. I had a friend whose daughter wanted to do it. It turned out the daughter had 2 brothers, one of whom successfully killed himself, and the other one just messed up his life, and his brain is messed up, and he's in a home out in California. So how anybody got through that, I can't imagine. But and Jonathan had death in the family, and Barb Boland, who's a nurse at the Evanston Hospital, has been an aid in helping with Mandy when I really felt as though it was too much for me to try to be a mother, and I really wasn't much of a grandmother to her, and she was a terrible burden because she was so needy. Anyway, we formed a team, and then Liz and Jonathan showed up with another member for our team whose family just got cold feet at the last minute. So we had 6, 7 people.
They met on the train or something.
Right, we met on the L as we were walking over to Soldier Field, you know, in this big, huge crowd, you know, and we got to, you know how your dad is, Abby. So we got to talking, and he invited her into the group, and
So we had another team member.
so we had another person.
And everybody got necklaces, depending on who in the family, what the relationship was. And some people had 2, 3 necklaces. And Gramps had helped me make a little sign because I realized at the last minute that we were going to be walking in the dark, and even if there were lights in places, we might have trouble finding each other. So we had a little sign that said Craig's team. And there was a young woman who saw that sign and came up to us and said, "This isn't by any chance Craig Cameron's family?" And we said, "Yes, it was." And she said, "He was the most wonderful teacher I ever had." And that was good to know. It makes me cry, but he had so much to give, and he was such a talented guy, but something didn't work. Anyway, that's what we did, and I walked, and the last mile, I think I was pretty much numb. And they gave us little paper bags, and we had a candle in them, and we left bags and candles. And,
20-mile walk, 10
That's-
miles each
I've
way,
never walked. That's
all
impressive.
all night.
Yeah. It's really impressive.
10 miles up to Foster, which is only a few blocks from the border with Evanston, and 10 miles back again. I think I cut off the last little bit because I called Dean, and he came down and met us.
It was a little bit though, Grandma. It was a little bit.
Yeah, it was to Field Museum, and Soldier Field is right there.
Mhm.
And I wasn't about to go to a meeting and talk to anybody. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And I needed to take about 2 weeks to recover, and I didn't, because the next week we were moving, and I packed
Oh, I
boxes
forgot.
and books and I don't know what all. And then I had a back pain one, big surprise. Huh? That's how that happened.
Did it help? Doing the process of the walk? Did it help
Oh,
dealing
yes.
with Craig's death?
Yeah, I felt as though this is a big thing that I did, and it's, I can't do anything about it. I have to settle for that. So, yes, I think so. It didn't make it go away, it doesn't,
Yeah.
it still hurts, but it doesn't actively hurt. Just when I remember things, I get teared up. And I'm really glad I did it. I would do it again. Not again now, after
Yeah.
having done it, but I think I did the right thing. And I felt I was doing the right thing at the time. It felt as though I was dealing with Craig's death that way, and it was a good way.
Well, and it had a ripple effect on us. It really helped me too, and I wouldn't have known that. So,
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to know that.
It's very true, because I have a lot of Grandpa's approach of you make some kind of peace and then you just kind of fence it in a little bit. And this was very different to me, and I learned a lot from that, and it pervades a lot of how I parent, a lot of how I parented, how I allowed to do other things, a lot of my work that I do in mediation, a lot of it. So a lot of the relationship with Jonathan and myself, Dad, you know, your dad, so it was a real gift, so thank you. And certainly it helps me with memories of Craig, because I can pair it up with something like this, and the two of you in it,